What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about polishers. Now with polishers, they range quite a bit from your Harbor Freight specials all the way up to your full-blown Rupa polishers, and the Rupas are, in my opinion, are kind of like the Ferrari or Lamborghini of polishers, if you will. But we're going to be discussing my specific polishers today, what I use, why I use them. We've got everything from some custom stuff over here to your factory Mark II Rupa polishers. There are the Mark III polishers that are out. We're going to be talking about that here briefly. But first, let's look at everything we have here, and then we'll dive into them one by one. So first up here we have a Rupa Mark II 21. We have a Rupa Mark II 15. We've got the Hybrid Nano. This is the long neck version. This is cordless. We have the Pneumatic Rupa TA 50 right here, as well as some custom polishers right here. These are the Griots Garage 6-inch, the Griots Garage 3-inch. These are both right here, and all these polishers are modified and custom in some way, shape, or form. These guys right here, which we'll talk about briefly, and then we got some nice little attachments for them as well. So first up, I want to talk to you about the Rupa 21 and the Rupa 15 right here. These are both the Mark II editions. Now there is a Mark III that recently came out not too long ago. I am on the fence whether I should upgrade to a Mark III. I probably will eventually anyways, just because, I mean, it's the latest and greatest, and you know, I'm kind of how I build my business. I use the best, latest and greatest tools out there. But personally, in my personal opinion, the Rupa Mark IIs, there's not really need or necessity to upgrade from them. When I originally had the Mark I, it was definitely underpowered. I needed a little extra bump and get up and go, and there were some other features that I wasn't super crazy about it. The Mark II was a huge jump from a Mark I to the Mark II. The Mark III, not really sure I'm going to jump there yet, because the Mark IIs, in my opinion, work perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with them, and kind of like the old saying goes, if it's not broke, don't fix it. In my opinion, these are great on power. They're not overly vibrating or anything like that. They're really, really nice polishers, and I really enjoy both of these right here. Now, next one we're going to look at is the Rupa Hybrid. This is the long neck version right here. This specific polisher I've had for pretty much since it came out. Now, I've used it a little bit, not a ton. There are certain areas that I do like to use it for. In my opinion, it's a little underpowered. I'm really hoping to come out with like a Mark II version of it, because it could really use a bump in power. I know they didn't market the tool that way, where it's like some crazy swirl machine. It just eats them up like crazy. It is a really nice tool to have for certain situations and circumstances, but what I find, and this is where I'll come into the Griots Garage 3-inch, that it's been modified to a 1-inch pad over here in just a second. But this guy overall, great tool. It has its place for correction and polishing. It's not something that I use all the time, but there are specific times that I will use it. Now, coming over here to the Pneumatic Rupa TA 50. This guy right here is a powerhouse. If you got a good air compressor that can power it, definitely use it, because this thing is a swirl machine. You can adjust it right here on the back depending on how much power you want to give it, which is really, really nice having that adjustment there. But yeah, great tool. Not something I use a ton either, just because I don't like having the air hose in my way. It's just personal preference. It's not like a big deal, but personally I'd rather run a cord over my shoulder versus a air hose over my shoulder. So moving along over here, guys, looking at the Griots Garage 6-inch. This is, so the Griots Garage 3-inch, if you were to just have the regular 3 inches right here with the 3-inch backing plate that it comes with, that in my opinion is definitely underpowered, and could really use a bump in power. And that's where I decided to basically modify the Griots Garage 6-inch and put a 3-inch backing plate on there, and I put my 3-inch pads, and it's got that extra power that I need when I'm working on those 3-inch sections or 4-inch sections on the vehicles where it's needed. It's nice to have that extra power to actually get those swirls out of the paint, especially when you're working on harder paint. Moving on down the line here, we have, this is the Griots Garage 3-inch that has a 2-inch backing plate on there. I also have added a cover around the shroud right there. So there's actually a little piece of metal that sticks out a little bit too much. And when you don't have basically the factory plate, the backing plate on there, you're gonna have issues where if you come up too close to paint, you can actually nick it and ding it. So that is why I have these nice little modified covers. Actually, I've took a cup, cut it, and JB welded it to there, so I have that added protection, so you're not going to run that risk of actually nicking the paint because of how that piece sticks out a little too far. I think personally it might be a flaw in the design factor, but again, they weren't designing these to run with 1 and 2-inch pads, so that's kind of a, it is what it is, so you just got to kind of know what you're working with and work around that. Coming down here to the 1-inch guy. This guy is pretty much my go-to, especially depending on what panels I'm working on. If you notice here, the TA50 is quite a bit shorter than it. So if we were to, and even this guy right here too, the Hybrid Nano is really short. So when I have really tight areas I'm working and I'm not able to use that, that's when I turn to the hybrid long neck right there or the TA50. So it just really kind of depends on the panel and the situation that you have at hand. Down below here we have the different attachments for it, so you can actually put those different attachments on here. I have, what I've basically done, so I don't have to constantly switch back and forth with attachments, is I bought 2 of the Griots Garage 2 of the Griots Garage 3 inches, so I can actually just go right there and already have my basically backing plates on there. I'm not having to jump back and forth between putting a 1-inch pad on there and a 1-inch backing plate to a 2-inch backing plate. So everything, they're cheap enough. They're like 150 bucks or something like that, I forget. But it's great to have where you have all the tools right there ready to go. If I need a 2-inch, grab my 2-inch polisher, go to town on the car. If I need the 1-inch, I run over there, grab the 1-inch. And it depends on the areas. You don't want to be wasting time switching backing plates off and on, off and on. It's really becomes time consuming and more of a headache and a hassle than anything. So there they are, guys. These are what I use firsthand. I've been using for a while now. Rupa has March 2 since they first came out, and these guys for several years now. I don't even know how long. Now, if any of you guys are interested in the customized backing plates or anything like that, I actually went to Kevin Brown, aka Buff Daddy. If you guys aren't familiar with him, I will put a link in the description below to his contact information. But he is like the mastermind that basically modified these. And originally, I can't take credit for this, but originally Joe Hernandez of Superior Shine, he is the one that kind of modified the polishers and kind of gave me the idea of, hey, I'm going to hit up Kevin Brown and have him hook me up with some of these custom modified pads and extensions and backing plates and things like that I can actually use on my polishers to make basically my job better, faster, more efficient, and ultimately giving my clients a better result. So those are the polishers that I have that I'm currently using. Now let's talk about future going forward, jumping into the Mark III Rupas, maybe jumping into some other ones like the Melee where it's a force driven, things along those lines. Personally, yes, I'm probably going to end up upgrading to the Mark III just because the way I built my business is I use the best tools and equipment out there, and I really believe you're only as good as your tools and equipment. Will I see a difference, or will my clients see a difference between whether I'm using a Mark II or a Mark III polisher? Probably not, but it's nice to have, and knowing that you have the latest and greatest tools and products out there. Again, like I said, it's personal preference. It's not necessary, but it is nice to have the latest and greatest tools out there. So now one last thing, guys, before I sign off, I forgot to mention is I want to talk briefly about like a Harbor Freight polisher versus like I said, the Rupas polisher, which in my opinion are like the Ferrari or Lamborghini of polishers right here. Really it comes down to all personal preference. I've seen guys out there with Harbor Freight polishers do amazing work. It really depends on personal preference. Me, I prefer to spend a couple extra bucks and have a little nicer polisher, performance, power, comfort, things along those lines. So that's just, again, it's just personal, really with anything with detailing, whether it's products, tools, equipment, like whatever you're using, it really comes down to personal preference. So I hope that helps you guys out. If you have any, again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post up. Be happy to help you guys out where I can. With that being said, guys, that's about all I got for you in today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have not already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the like button. I'm signing off. I'll talk to you soon.